Hello everybody, my name is Karam Omran. I wanted to talk to you about my part in our catalytic converter project, why they're getting stolen, that kind of thing. I will be doing stage 5, part 2. And for this video, I just want to talk to you about some of the reasons that these things are getting stolen, right? Some of the facts, some of the materials, why these things are so valuable. So catalytic converters are made of base metals. They're made of platinum, they're made of palladium, and they're made of rhodium, right? And these things are incredibly valuable when they're melted down. And so people have found that if you cut off this catalytic converter, which is not a little piece, actually it's like sort of this big, but underneath the car there's something called a catalytic converter. When you cut it off, you can just take it with you. It's just a piece of metal, part of the exhaust, and you can melt it down. Now you think, well, how can somebody get away with that? Well, the main issue is that catalytic converters don't actually have a VIN number on them, right? It's not connected to the vehicle's VIN number. So people have found that if you just cut off one end, cut off the other end, you take the catalytic converter and then you take it to a junkyard, you take it to a place you can melt it down and sell it, you make a lot of money. A lot of money. And it's become a main concern for people in our area, as it's happening like every other day now. Every other day you hear about somebody getting their catalytic converter stolen. So you think to yourself, well, I mean, cars must have a defense against this, right? And sorta. So cars in the 90s to the early 2000s had a major problem with alarms, right? You always hear about people stealing Civics and Hondas and Toyotas and that kind of thing, and that's because the alarm was almost ineffective. And it's especially ineffective in this case because the catalytic converter is at the bottom and the alarm is not at the bottom. And since the alarm is not sensitive enough, when you perform this action of cutting it off with usually a saw or something like that, the car doesn't actually feel it. And so the alarm never goes off. So, the problem becomes that the car can't tell you that it's getting stolen. It can't scream, tell the neighborhood, oh, it's somebody's is taking the catalytic converter, because the car can't feel it, especially if it's that old, which is usually the target. Now, it's not just older vehicles, because there's a distinction between regular vehicles and hybrid vehicles. And hybrid vehicles in specific are the ones getting their catalytic converter stolen, because hybrid vehicles, they use a sort of eco-friendly way to operate the car, right? They use an electric motor and they use a regular motor in combination. And so the catalytic converter for these vehicles are made from even like more expensive materials. So you'll find that like a Toyota Prius, a Honda Civic, those kind of hybrid vehicles are very sought after, especially the sort of like 04, 05 to like 09, the ones with a bat sensor and hybrid catalytic converter. Those are the ones that are very sought after. And I know from experience because my own father had his catalytic converter stolen twice from our complex, like right outside, and we live in a complex full of people. There's about 500 windows around here. You think somebody heard it, but no, nobody did. Because these thieves only need 2 minutes, max. 2 minutes is even slow for them, actually. They just prop the car, they get under, they zzz, and then they take it. And you think, oh, it's an easy fix, right? Well, it's not. It's not an easy fix. For those older vehicles, well, they don't make catalytic converters for them anymore. And that's where the other problem lies, is that these things are just so expensive. Because they don't make them anymore, these manufacturers, Toyota, Honda, and it's not just, Japanese, it's everything. But because these manufacturers don't make catalytic converters for those older vehicles anymore, they've become incredibly sought after and incredibly expensive. Upwards of $2,000 for a catalytic converter. Which, I mean, if you have a 95, 94 car, you might as well sell it at that point, It's not worth it. And these things are, like, the reason they're so expensive, too, is because California has a rule against aftermarket catalytic converters. And again, this wouldn't be catalytic converters wouldn't be so expensive if California didn't have a rule against aftermarket catalytic converters, which it does. So you have to put on a stock catalytic converter from an original, like it's an original part from the manufacturer, which they don't make anymore. And if you don't put on a catalytic converter, if you just go without it, one, the car will sound incredibly loud, like very, very loud. And two, it won't pass smog. And therefore it becomes illegal to drive on the road. So this problem with catalytic converters has grown immensely lately. Immensely. Over the past about 4 years. And the police department can't do anything about it. And neither can we. So thank you for listening to me. This is sort of on the basic level why catalytic converters are stolen. This is why they're so sought after. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.